Okay, so we've got 2 large mushrooms, 1/2 an onion, half a green pepper. I should have 2 eggs, but I've run out. I've only got 1 egg, and 4 slices of chorizo sausage. First thing we're going to do is we're going to put the mushrooms into the oven and let the mushrooms cook in the oven. I use this as a bread substitute for the Mexican eggs. Normally when I'm not dieting, I'll either have a muffin or some whole grain bread to put the Mexican eggs on, but when I start my diet I tend to use a lot of mushrooms in, especially breakfast, so that's going to get put in the oven. So bobby mushrooms in the oven. If you can also heat up a plate, you'll need that when we start cooking the eggs. The mushrooms are put in on about 200 degrees. I'm going to keep an eye on them. You'll see some of the water come out. You obviously don't want to burn them, but for the time that the mushrooms are going to cook, that's probably how long it's going to take to actually make the egg bit. So, but just make sure you get a warm plate in there nice and early, and just make sure you're careful when you take it out. So the onions and peppers are pretty much cooked through now. They're nice. They're just starting to soften up a little bit. I've sliced the chorizo salami. I'm going to add that into the pan now, cook for about a minute, then transfer the contents of the frying pan onto the hot plate, and then that's when I'll cook my egg. I've transferred the contents of the pan onto a warm plate. You use a warm plate because you obviously want to keep the food, because you're going to add it into the eggs once the eggs are cooked through a little bit in the pan. You shouldn't have to add any more oil into the pan, because the chorizo is quite warm, is quite fatty anyway. That's why we're only using 4 slices, so it'll have a nice layer of chorizo oil in there. So what I'm going to do is add the pan back to the heat. And then I've beaten an egg, so I've just put it into a little jug and mixed the egg up. I'm going to add that to the pan, and then I'm going to scramble the eggs. So just as the eggs are starting to soft cook, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the contents of the plate back into the pan and then cook for a further minute. Once I've done that, I'll get the mushrooms out and serve.